technology, Grandpa, that kitchen, futuristic recipes.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously, that's. Are we doing it? I'm Jelmer.
I'm Eric.
This is Kramp, that kitchen. We're talking about data lakes. Hi, Eric.
Hi, Jelmer.
Nice to see you here. Good to be back at the office.
It is.
Okay, so what's a data lake to you as a product manager? What
Right.
does it mean to have a data lake
To have a data lake.
at your company? Does it mean anything at all to you?
It does. It means I think it's a way to store all the data that you want to store,
Mm-hmm.
and have a way to also use that data again wherever you want to use it, in your platform or whatever service you're building.
Okay, so why not a data warehouse? Why don't we have a data warehouse?
Why don't we have a data warehouse?
What do we need a data lake for? Who the hell came up with this idea of us building a data lake here?
I think you did, right?
I did. You want to know why?
Yeah, tell me.
Okay, because I arrived at this company. I went to the interview. I had a job interview as a data scientist, and they told me there would be data. So I was really excited about getting started here on my first day. And then turns out all the interesting models I was going to build, all the interesting data analyses I was going to do, none of that was going to happen because there was no data actually. So then all of a sudden I turned into a data engineer. Also, I suppose, a data architect. We had to just build this data platform from scratch. And this was actually a really great opportunity because if something would have already been there, then I would have to probably use stuff that I wasn't fully comfortable with as a data scientist. So then we decided to create something that is optimally suited for data usage in the 21st century.
Right. And then that's a data lake and not a data warehouse.
Yeah, well, the thing with the data warehouse is that it's got tables, and you can query those tables, you can get a whole bunch of data from those tables in batch, but it's not really something you can sort of act on. Like the moment a piece of data gets generated, it comes into existence, if you just store it into something like a table, how can you act on it in real time?
Right.
Do you know?
That's at least, so indeed, that's why we have this data lake, right? Our main goal is to have this data available, have all necessary data available to do like real-time changes or adaptations in the customer journey or customer experience of the customers on the platform, right? So an example.
Yeah, that's like from a functional perspective, that's something you might be able to do. From a technical perspective, I would say, okay, we created a streaming first data platform. We can call it a data lake, but I don't actually know what that means. It's a buzzword. It's a bucket where you put all your files into. I think that's the most common way of people implementing a data lake.
Correct.
But that's not what we did.
No.
No.
I think when people talk about data lake, you also often think of just a place where you put all the data in unstructured and just so that it's safe somewhere. But I don't think that's the approach we took, right?
Yeah, but the expectations are different, The way you were saying it, it's just, okay, you have a big pile of data, you just put all your garbage in here, and then magically something wonderful will happen because someone will know what to do with this, and all of a sudden you will have machine learning, data-driven decision-making, business intelligence, magically from garbage. But that's not really the way it works. So we actually put a bit more thought into it, the way we designed our data lake. We decided to actually sort of make it mandatory when you put a piece of data into our streaming data lake, data platform, you need to provide metadata that specifies, like, hey, I'm this source, I'm this service, or whatever it is, sending you this type of message. The schema can be found here, and then the version of the schema, that's this 0.0. whatever. That already makes it a bit more manageable. So we took that into account when creating the data lake, that you should always put something in there and specify what it is. So we have the data and we have the metadata, and we put a bit of thought into the schema of the metadata. We came up with a bunch of stuff that definitely needed to be there.
Yeah. So can you say that that metadata gives structure to the unstructured data?
Yeah.
Is that a way of putting it?
Yeah, so the data itself can have any structure, as long as you tell us what it is.
Right.
That we will store it.
Yeah.
And then the metadata describes that. And so far it has worked out pretty well for us, I think.
What are the things we're doing with it? So I know some examples maybe. What are some of the examples that actually now, since we're 3 years into building our platform and building the data platform as well?
Yeah, what are we doing with this? Okay, we can actually, so everything that happens on the web shop, we capture live, we can act on it. We can also get all the events, like all the server-side events, like everything that happens in the services that the front end doesn't know about. We also have that, so we can sort of bring these different parts of the same event together.
Yeah.
We sessionize in many different ways. Like if we want to analyze something, like you remember how we got started with search events?
Yeah.
How did you sort of experience that? What was your experience with the way we set up like real-time analysis for searches?
Yeah, so I think you have the flexibility there, right? Or at least the data's there. So however you want to, I think we did an analysis on what actually made sense to have as a session, what the duration is. So you can actually, based on the user, the way customers are using the platform, determine, okay, what makes sense, or the goals you have, what makes sense to have as a session. So indeed, one of the main benefits we have now gotten from the data platforms, that we use that data that we had, that all that interactions of the customers to improve the search results, for example, in the search engine of the platform. That's a very important one, where indeed this search session determines a lot on how we optimizing the search results that are being shown, and having the flexibility also for the different tenants that are using, or different customers that are using the platform is very helpful.
Yeah, I would say actually that this usage data, like these very specifically scoped sessions, like focused on the search event, and then everything that comes after that, I think that has shaped a lot of the relevance that we have achieved in search so far. I think most of it has come from like clues that we got from these sessions that we were collecting.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
And then what about, I know that the developers who are building the services are also using the replay functionality.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about having a streaming data platform. You can just sort of capture everything that is streaming into the data platform, and then if someone sort of needs their own data or someone else's data, you can just push the button. Well, actually, you go to the service that does the replay, and then we sort of replay the stored data as a stream again into the system that requests it.
Right.
So in that way, it's really easy to, for example, fill up your service that's, for example, in a development environment or in a staging environment. You can fill it up with production data from another service. You can feed it with like real click data. You can feed it with any data that is stored.
Right.
Just turn it back into a stream, consume it, do your thing with it, fill up your local storage.
Yep.
Yeah, it took us a couple of iterations to really optimize that. But I think at this point, I think developers are happy with it.
Yeah. Definitely, yes, being used. So that's one of the, that's definitely
used. So that's proof that it's working.
Yes, right. Cool. So, what were some of the challenges that we? Yeah, we're going to look into the camera now. Let's do it. Okay, so we're talking about challenges, right? But like the fact that I think this we need to have these clear principles, right? Of what the data that's coming in needs to be at least uphold itself to our duty.
And we're pretty strict about the way data should enter the data platform, because you need to be sure that you can work with it as a stream. First of all, that's really important. You also need to be sure that you know what's in the data. You need to sort of manage your schemas. So yeah, that sort of in some instances led to me being this guy. But in the long run, it really has its benefits, because it also sort of educates people. Like, hey, this is how you should deliver your data to make optimal use out of it. And that's in the end what we all want, and what our tenant wants on the e-commerce platform.
Yeah.
You know, the goal is to be, you know, a data-driven company, to use data to make stuff smarter.
Cool. Yeah, for this we need as much data as possible. So this is also something we're trying to communicate right now to our to our customers, right, to our tenants. Like they of course have data sets that we on our e-commerce platform don't have, like logistical data, whatever. We do think it's important to have it in one place, or at least have it available in the same structure as, at least in the structure we can use together with the data here to do some smart stuff in our services or on our platform. So indeed, this is something we need to hold ourselves to, and also the.
Yeah, exactly. You need to apply structure to both your data and your process of delivering it, and then magic will happen. A bunch of magic is already happening. We did that image recognition thing.
Yeah.
That's all based on the data platform data. What else did we do?
Improved search engine.
Improved search.
Yeah. Metrics to prove it, so that's cool. Looking into recommendations now.
Doing recommendations, indeed.
And this platform allows us to do real-time recommendations, right? So that's the real strength of that.
Actually, yeah, in the future, I do see us sort of acting on stuff that a customer is doing right now. Yeah. You know, we're technically capable of that. You know, if someone is doing something right now, we can act on it. I just don't know what I want to do yet, and you probably don't either, but we could.
Yeah.
Because we have such a nice streaming data platform.
Right, so the building blocks are in place there, and we can come up with some stuff.
It's
cool.
Just, like a friend of mine once said, you know, the only limitation is your own creativity, and if that's lacking, then I don't know what to do with all this streaming data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Now,
probably someone will come up with something fun that we can do. You know, we could maybe monitor the contents of a shopping cart live and try to determine what's missing still, and then proactively push that to the customer. Like, hey, I see you have your shovel and you have your bucket. Do you also need a thing that goes well with that?
Yeah, that other customers also purchase together. Yeah, right. Yeah. Cool. What was the reason that we built this ourselves?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, well, first of all, so there was nothing there. Someone needed to build it. I think the consultants were pretty expensive. They were asking for a lot more money than I was. And also their thing was pretty much, it was slightly different from the thing we currently have. They were going to use storage, like file storage as your source of data. We actually use BigQuery as the place where we store our data and manage our metadata, because it turns out it's sort of equally expensive as storage. We're in the Google Cloud, and you could use cloud storage to store all your files, or you could use BigQuery, and it would cost about the same amount of money.
Right.
The only difference is that if you use BigQuery as your storage of your raw data, then you can actually query your storage, which I thought was a plus. I read it somewhere, so I'm going to give credits to the guy who wrote about this on Medium. Thank you for doing it. Works well for us. Breaking the fourth wall.
we are breaking it.
Like we discussed.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
cool, clear. Yeah, and I think one other part that's often mentioned is that the vision of the company here is that we want to be we want to rise above our competitors by using technology, right? We want to be so by definition you cannot purchase that technology. If you want to.
Yeah, that's the catchphrase, right? If you want to use great technology, then by definition you cannot buy it. You need to build it yourself, right? And I'm all in favor of that. Even if it's not the right thing to do, it's still fun. But I think for us, it turned out, our choices turned out pretty well.
Right. Yeah. Cool.
Another fun thing that we can do now that we have live streaming data about everything.
Yeah.
Both server side and front end side, whatever it's called, like the stuff the customer is doing. We're actually now able to catch scraping bots. Technically we are able to catch them as they're doing their business. If they're acting like a human, then I don't think we will be able to catch them. Having randomized intervals between clicks and everything. But if one of these scraping bots tries to sort of scrape us 5 requests per second, we're able to catch it now. Yeah. So we've got these events that notify us when someone is doing a price check. If someone is doing 1,000 a minute, not buying anything, that must be some automated script or whatever.
Right.
we can now catch that. Wouldn't have been able to do that if we just had a data warehouse.
Right. Yeah, we're going to catch that while they're doing it real time. And still, those bots, they probably are not purchasing products on the platform, on the e-commerce platform, while real customers are. So that's something we can.
Yeah, but would it be a good idea to just ban everyone from the platform if they're not buying anything?
No, but over a long period of time.
And you also sort of deny them the opportunity to buy something later.
That's true. That's true, but over a longer period of time. That might be, that depends on what we see in the analysis of the customer behavior, right? If somebody, some things stick out, that's a really different behavior, and you look into it, might be bots, and you can do something with it.
Yeah, true. And also, as long as we're just collecting all the behaviors, we can sort of analyze it later on, see what people were doing, decide if we are actually okay with that or not.
Yeah. Okay.
And then in the future, if something like that happens again, we can catch them. Block them, I guess.
Right.
Or send them an email like, hey, why are you not actually buying something? Would you like a discount? Would you like a discount? Would you like us to drop by and see what your needs are? Something like that. Yeah. That might be something that tenant might be, like our customer might be interested in.
Definitely. We can give some more examples of why we're using it, and then like we need to have our catchphrase, the real-time data-driven decision making.
Are we going to build up to that?
We're going to build up to that.
Okay.
So we have recommendations. So let's see what other, we have many use cases in mind, right? And when we can start working together with our customers, they probably have a lot of ideas when we have these, that already can use like the real-time data is available. So you have the catching the bots and the scrapers, you have the recommendation we talked about, improving the search engine. Yeah, so it depends of course on which sources you can connect to the data lake, and if you get real-time data available, there are definitely more use cases that you can think of.
Yeah, also just building your data warehouse on top of your data lake. I think that was also a really good choice we made.
Yeah.
So because we get all the data lake data that's streaming, and it's in its original format, and its original schema. And then every night we just turn this unreadable mess into proper database tables, like something that an analyst would work with, or someone who wants to build reports. Right. I think that's a nice way of using our data lake. And also, I'm also looking towards the future. Right now we're just doing nightly batches. The analysts just get the state of things up until midnight yesterday. We could also make that sort of like update in real time. It's technically possible.
Right. All depends on the needs. Yeah.
I don't think we need it yet. If you need to act on data like in real time, like as stuff happens, then you shouldn't use something like BigQuery or data warehouse at all. But we could do it.
Right.
If someone would want to do this.
Yeah, so that's also the big difference between the data lake and the data warehouse, right? Because data warehouse is really for analysis purposes, seeing, building dashboards, reports. Well, the data platform, I should say, provides the opportunity to do real-time integration with services and actually make our services smarter and act upon data that's coming in real time.
Yeah, so the process would be something like, okay, our analysts look for patterns in our sort of somewhat static data warehouse. They build their prototypes, like, hey, if we do this, then we can predict this or that. And then we take that prototype, or take that concept, or take whatever someone leaves behind, like a report, like, hey, this is how you should solve such and such problem. Then we sort of transform that into something that acts in real time on real data as it's coming in, feeds it to the services to make them smarter. That's pretty much our process, as I think it should be.
Right, the way we're trying to approach it with the team as well, right? People we have in the team now, in the data team, trying to find ways to improve the services on the platform. Cool. Yeah, so there we talked about also the image recognition being one of the functionalities that we build on top of the platform. And then, but every type of decision making that you might want to do in the future based on data that you want to have real time.
What's wrong with doing your decision making based on dashboards? That's data driven, right?
Right, that's data driven. Usually you're late, right? That depends on what the goal is, of course. So I can imagine that especially on an e-commerce platform, on the web shop, the customer, you want to get a certain message or a certain product in front of the customer because you detect certain patterns in the data. You need to act soon, act quickly.
I guess you're right. Maybe dashboards won't do the trick after all. Fortunately, we have a solution. Yeah, we have a plan ready to just, we're going to implement real-time, data-driven decision-making. It's going to be the next buzzword, I think. We're going to be talking about this at conferences next year. We're going to make sure that, we're just going to sort of make sure that we only act on streaming data rather than dashboards or analyses. You know, we will formulate decision rules that we're going to apply to all this streaming data. Like, hey, if you see this happening, do this or that. Send it to that or that, this or that system that can actually act on it. It's going to be the thing of the future. It's going to be proper data-driven decision-making.
Right.
I'm really looking forward to it. For example, this bot detection thing, that's actually an example of this. If we register that someone is really scraping our prices with a really high frequency, we can express that as a metric.
Yeah.
And we can beforehand just set a rule, like if this metric exceeds some threshold, like if someone is doing 1,000 requests per minute, we don't like that. We need to act. So we are going to have a framework that acts in real time on like these threshold, how do you call it? When you exceed the threshold? A threshold violation. In the case of bots, it's actually a violation.
Yeah, right.
So we're going to report that this violation has happened. We're going to sort of publish that onto the next consumer, whoever wants to act on this, and then we can just block the user that's doing this in real time based on our data-driven decision that we made.
Yeah. But that's the cool thing, right? This is only possible because we have the data platform as it is, data coming in real time.
If someone was sending us CSVs through email, we would not be able to act on it in real time as it happened.
And the cool thing is, it's not even, we're not even able to make decisions only in the digital or online channels. If one of our customers of the e-commerce platform, they have a really big sales department, and they could actually, based on data that we get in from customer behavior on the web shop, start calling customers when it would be necessary, would be valuable to call them. So these are some possibilities.
Yeah, something like an abandoned cart or something. We could immediately call them like, hey, aren't you supposed to be sort of finalizing your order right now?
Yeah.
I see this shopping cart, it's just sitting there with all the items in it. What's wrong?
Yeah.
You want us to provide you a discount or something? Provide you a discount or something?
Yeah.
Whatever it takes.
Correct.
Make the customers happy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but indeed, this situation is, of course, that might not be the best action to take, but it gives you an indication of what is possible, right? Like there will be situations where it's definitely wise to contact the customer about with a certain question if you see certain behavior, and help the customer out in actually achieving what they're trying to achieve, right? They're trying to find products quickly, trying to purchase the right product for the problem that they have. So any way we can help with that in real time, it's just really valuable.
Yeah, you're right. We should be helpful, not stalker-ish.
Yeah.
And this is why you're a product manager, and I'm a solutions architect.
Yeah.
I don't care what your problem is. I'm just going to solve it. If you want to get better at stalking people, then I'm going to help you. But if you want to actually help people find things better, I'm also going to help you.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, so isn't that something we should be talking about in the next episode? The data-driven decision-making thing. Because there's so much you could say about this, about doing it right, doing it wrong.
That's cool.
The way things should be,
Yeah.
the way things actually are. We are going to sort of create the data-driven decision-making framework of the future.
We're going to change the business.
Change. Yeah,
I thought I took it one step further.
I was going to change the world of agriculture by applying technology to problems in order to solve them.
Yeah. We're ambitious. No, we can talk about it.
Technology. Using technology to solve problems.
Yeah.
To decide stuff. To decide how to solve problems.
Okay.
I think that should be our next thing that we will dive
Our
into.
next episode will be real-time
Data-driven
decision making
in the world of
agriculture
in the 21st century.